Yeah, hello and welcome to part 2 of that morphing tutorial. So what I want to do now is I'd like to create some demons or some forces to move those particles in a cool way, in an interesting looking way here, before they stick to the surface of our silver mesh. Okay, so let's go here to our demons tab, and so that's what I found out when I created the stuff that you've seen in the first video. So use the noise field here, and with that noise field on the right hand side, you see the strength is set to 1 and the scale factor is set to 1 as well. It's not bounded. So let's just simulate that and see what happens. So let me simulate that through 200 frames, and I'll be back when that's done. Okay, so I stopped it at frame 160 or something. So what happens here is, this noise field here has definitely an effect here, but I think it's a little bit too slow. So let's reset the settings here, and let's or reset the simulation, and then go to the noise field and dial in. Let's try something like 5, and let's simulate that. And let's wait a few frames here. Okay. Okay, so this definitely is going much faster. So those particles are spreading out, and this is kind of cool. So I'd like to, have this effect, I would say, for 2 seconds here, so 60 frames. So, and after 60 frames, I would say we have another effect going on. I'm not quite sure if I keyframe the simulation here later on. So maybe I just leave the noise field on for the whole simulation. But for now, I just leave it like it is. And let me just delete the noise field here from the global links. So I will bring this in later on. So let me just select it and hit delete on the keyboard. Let's reset our simulation here. And now let's check out another demon which works good for this, what we are doing here. So that's the D-spline. So first of all, if you want to move any object here in this 3D space, it's like in any other tool. So if you hit W, you can move. If you hit E, you can rotate. If you hit R, you can scale. So let me just rotate the D-spline here 90 degrees. So I dial that in here under the nodes. So 90 degrees. And then hit W, and then let me move this maybe somewhere over here. I'd like to have it here in the center of our particles, and maybe in the center of the whole thing here, and then hit R to scale, and then scale this out maybe somewhere about here, and then hit W and move it back. So we want to make sure that later on, when we let this demon here take effect after the noise, that those control circles here are at the size of our particles, so that every particle here has that effect later on. Okay, so what we have to do here is to scale those D-spline circles, and you can't scale those circles here in the viewport, so you have to go here to edit, so click on that, and then we can change the CP radius here. Let's try something like 10. Okay, zoom out. That should be large enough. And now let's click here on that next circle. So click on that little icon here, and then type in 10 here under the CP radius as well. And we do this with the last one as well. Click on that and then type in 10. Okay, and now let's just see what happens if we are simulating this only with that D-spline attractor, or a D-spline demon. So click on simulate. Okay, something seems to happen here. Okay, so it's somehow rotating, and it's moving along the axis, and it's somehow spreading out. Okay. I mean, that's a would be a cool effect if we are would move those particles from here to somewhere over here, and then just you know, morphing those to the silver text. But it's something we could create here. But I'd like to first of all check out the options here. So reset my simulation. Click here on that's the D-spline, and then let's check out the other options we have. Under D-spline, we have a vortex, axial, and radial strength. Let's try to dial down the axial strength to 0, and let's dial up the vortex strength to something like 5, and let's see what happens if we are simulating this. Select those. Okay, so those particles are not moving on that axis here anymore. They're still rotating and somehow spreading out. So it takes about 90 frames here to have those at this size. Okay, maybe we dial down that. Let me first reset my simulation here. Maybe we want to dial down that vortex strength to maybe like something like 4, not just a little bit less strong, and let's dial up the radial strength to something like 5 and see what happens if we are simulating this. Okay, and as I mean, those settings here are explaining themselves. So if you dial up the radial strength, the rotation here is much faster, which is kind of cool. So it takes about 100 frames here to get this. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, I wonder how that would look like if we are dial up you know, the number of particles. But for now, I think that's okay. So let's only use those two effects here. So first, let's bring in that where is that noise field. So in that noise field should take effect until frame 60, and after that this D-spline demon here takes effect. So at first it starts to spread out, and then somehow spreads out a little bit more and rotating, and then those particles with the magic demon should come to rest on our silver mesh. So let's try to create this. First of all, I think we are going to frame 60, and we set a key, so with our D-spline selected, so we are setting a key here on the simulation. So just hover over or click on the simulation here, and then right click and say add key. So we keyframed the function active here, and then we're going one frame back here to 59, and then we set this to inactive, and right click and add a key. So that means until frame 60 the D-spline here has no effect. And then we are bringing back in here our noise field, so just drag and drop it here under the global links, and then let's just reset our simulation, and then let's see what happens if we are starting with a noise field until frame 60, and then the D-spline kicks in. So let's simulate that. Okay, we get a slow noise movement here. Okay, so now the D-spline starts to rotate this, and it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Okay, so I would say, okay, to frame 120, this is looking all right to me. So I think I leave those settings here as they are right now, and then let's bring in our magic demon. And again, be aware of once the magic demon takes effect, the simulation time is way slower, because this takes, you know, some calculation time. So let's just drag and drop it here down to the global links, and then click on that, and then let's go to frame 119, and with the magic demon selected, let's set it here to inactive. So I'd like to have this effect active at frame 120. So at frame 119, I make a, so with this set to inactive, right click, add a key, and then go one frame further, frame 120, set this to active, and right click, add a key. So let's check out the options of our magic. So the object here is set to silver. That's what we did in the first video. Nearest face, random within face. Let's turn that off, and then let's dial up the approach strength to something like 10, not 110, and the escape strength to something like 50. Let's check out how that looks. So I let this simulate 200 frames. So let me just first reset this. And yeah, I think this is going to take a bit more time, so I'll be back when this is simulated. Alright, so when this was simulating, I just noticed that even if we keyframed our magic demon here, so if I click on that, so even if it's the keyframes are working here, so that's what I can see up here, but the effect doesn't work. So that's as far as I know, a common bug here in Realflow. So what we have to do is we just take that magic demon under the global links, delete it, and then just drag and drop it back to the global links here. So just drag and drop it, and then reset it. And this time it should work. So that's a workaround. So let me just simulate that, and I'll be back when that's done. Alright, so I get the 200 frames done here. Took 3 minutes on my system. So yeah, let's to see what's going on here in real time, let's go here to playback and click here on video preview. So now Realflow is caching this into our RAM or in creating a video. So once all the 200 frames are cached, we can see this in real time, which is 30 frames per second. Okay, let's just wait another couple of seconds. Okay, so now we get the tiny but real-time simulation here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing here, but yeah, what you definitely can see, so let me close that. Once we're at frame 200, our letters are, you know, we still have some holes in here. I think we can avoid this when we crank up the particle, the amount of particles or the number of particles. So yeah, before I'm running out of time here, so we are at this point. I think I'm gonna pause the video and yeah, let's work on and try to finish the particle simulation in the next video.